Right now, you can remember yesterday. You can remember last week. You can probably remember something embarrassing you said to someone in 2019 that still wakes you up at 3 a.m. But go further back. Push past school. Push past learning to read. Push past your first friend. Now try to remember being 3 years old. Nothing. Maybe a flash, a color, a face you can't place, a feeling with no story attached to it. You were alive. You were thinking. You were feeling things deeply, and your brain just deleted all of it. So what actually happened? Where did those years go? And why does every single human on the planet share this exact same blind spot in their own life story? Let's start with what we know for certain. The first thing people assume, the thing Sigmund Freud convinced the entire world of for over a century, is that forgetting your childhood means something bad happened to you, that your brain locked something away to protect you. Wrong. This isn't trauma. This isn't a personal malfunction. This is a factory setting that every human being ships with. Psychologists call it infantileamnesia, and it doesn't just affect you. It affects your neighbor, your parents, every president, every genius who ever lived. Nobody remembers being 2 years old. Nobody. The question isn't, why did I forget? The question is, why does the human brain erase the first chapter of every single person's life? And here's where it gets genuinely strange. Because babies aren't stupid. A 6-month-old infant can form memories. Scientists tested this. They taught babies how to press a lever to make a toy train move, and those babies remembered how to do it weeks later. The memory was there, the hardware was running. So the problem isn't that children can't form memories. The problem is something else entirely. Inside your skull, there's a structure called the hippocampus, shaped like a seahorse. And it's the brain's save button, the part responsible for taking short-term experiences and converting them into permanent, retrievable memories. Here's the problem. It doesn't finish developing until around age 7. It's literally still being built while you're out there having experiences, making friends, falling down, laughing, crying. You were living a life your brain didn't have the infrastructure to record properly yet. Even that's only half the story, because scientists noticed something that stopped them cold. A 5-year-old could clearly remember an event from when they were 3, but by the time that same child turned 9, the memory was gone. The memories weren't failing to form, they were forming and then getting overwritten. Your brain was developing so fast during those early years that it was constantly rewiring itself, and every time it rewired, it erased. Growth is the cost. Memory is what pays for it. There's a second piece to this puzzle that nobody talks about. To store a memory you can actually retrieve later, your brain needs a framework to attach it to, a story, a self. The concept of being a continuous person moving through time, that doesn't exist for a 2-year-old. They experience moments, but they don't yet have the internal narrative to file those moments under my life. Language is the key. Researchers studied toddlers brought to emergency rooms with injuries. The children over 26 months, who could already talk about what was happening to them, remembered the event years later. The children under 26 months, who had no words to narrate the experience. They recalled almost nothing, no words, no story, no permanent memory. You didn't just need a brain to save your childhood. You needed a language to save it in. And by the time you had both, the hippocampus and the words, your brain had already overwritten the files. Now here's the part nobody wants to hear about the memories they do have. The earliest memories most people describe, a significant number of them are probably reconstructions. Not lies, not delusions, just assembled fakes. Your parents told you a story about your 3rd birthday enough times. They showed you a photo, and your brain, a machine built for efficiency, not accuracy, took that story and built a memory out of it. It feels real. It has detail. It has emotion. But it was constructed from other people's words, not from your own experience. Researchers call this the narrative theory of memory. Autobiographical memory isn't a recording. It's a reconstruction. And it gets re-edited every single time someone tells the story again. Which means the earliest memory most people describe is probably a photograph they saw, or something a parent repeated so many times their brain eventually filed it as personal experience. Your past is partly a story someone else told you about yourself. So what does this actually mean? Why should you care that your brain quietly disposed of your first 4 years of existence? Because it doesn't mean those years don't matter. In fact, and this is the part that should unsettle you, it means the exact opposite. Studies on children who experience neglect or trauma before the age of 3, events they have zero conscious memory of, show clear, measurable impacts on their adult psychology, their ability to trust, their emotional regulation, their stress responses, how loud their inner critic is, how they handle rejection. The memories are gone. Your brain spent those early years building its core architecture, wiring the circuits that run your entire emotional life, and you don't remember a single day of it. But you run those programs every single day. The first years of your life were the most consequential years of your life, and you have almost no access to them. Your brain built the house you live in, and then locked you out of the blueprints. Here's what that actually means. You walk around every day reacting to things, flinching at certain tones of voice, drawn to certain types of people, afraid of things you can't explain, comfortable with patterns you never consciously chose. And you call all of that your personality, your preferences, your instincts. But most of it was written before you could read, installed before you had any say in the matter, by a version of you that no longer exists and that you will never be able to remember. You spent the most formative, most plastic, most impressionable years of your entire existence completely present, completely open, absorbing everything. And you got no vote, no awareness, and no memory of any of it. The child you were didn't just grow up. They disappeared. Quietly, without warning. And left you to live inside everything they built, without ever leaving a note.